Hi guys, this is Miss Taylor from the Paul I. Phillips Boys and Girls Club. Today for Art Club we are going to be making some marbleized paper. For this, all I used was some shaving cream. The foam kind that expands a little bit when you spray it works the best. I can honestly say I haven't tried anything else, so that would be my recommendation. And then I just have some food coloring, red, yellow, green, and blue. I did also mix my red and yellow to make an orange, and I mixed my blue and red to make a purple. So we're going to see how those turn out as well. I do also have a couple of different kinds of paper, some regular copy paper, a little bit thicker construction paper, and then some watercolor paper, which is also what I did my test on, just to kind of see what holds up best to the shaving cream. This watercolor paper, I'll admit, feels a little bit too thick, maybe a little unnecessary, but we're going to try it all. I also have some cardboard and some popsicle sticks that we'll be using as well today. I'm just using a cake pan that is old to mix my shaving cream in. So I'm gonna just take some shaving cream and we're going to spray some. This is the fun part. It doesn't have to be perfect on the bottom because it is going to be kind of swirled around with the colors. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my blue and just put some drops in the shaving cream. And I'm going to try some of this purple and see if how it turns out. This is a good place for you to kind of mix those colors and see how they turn out on your own. You can also use like a liquid watercolor, stuff like that, but this is just what I have on hand. And then I'm going to take some green. So I'm using all my cool colors today. All right, so I am using popsicle sticks. You can use a colored pencil, a regular pencil, really just anything. You don't mind getting some shaving cream on. I'm going to swirl this around. And this part, I do want to make sure that I have some shaving cream all over just to make sure that my paper gets fully coated when I press it into the foam. All right, so this is my regular copy paper. And then when I push it into the foam, I do want to make sure that I am getting some shaving cream on all those edges and the middle bits, because I don't want a lot of white space. The shaving cream that is white will already look white, so I want to make sure that I get color everywhere I can. See, this one's got some holes in it, but it is really thick. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to push it down in a couple of other places to fill some of these. Compared to my test run, I will say that this copy paper feels a little bit thin. So I'm going to have to be careful when there you go, when I scrape the shaving cream off, just because I don't want to rip my paper. So this is where that cardboard comes into play. I'm just going to hold down the one side and just really lightly take off the first layer. So as you can see, this side got a lot more of the shaving cream off on the first stripe, but this undercolor is what we're looking for. So I'm going to go back over this other side. Again, if you're pulling pretty flat across, the copy paper is holding up, so it might be a good paper if I'm going to use this for another project afterwards. But there's my first attempt with just the cool colors. And then I would recommend having some paper towel. You could take the time to go wash or wipe off your cardboard every time, but this might just be a little bit easier than carrying the mess around. I like to use this paper instead of like colored construction paper for some of my paper crafts, just because it adds a little bit more color and texture to whatever my project is than just like a one standard color piece of construction paper. I have also used it like behind pictures and stuff like that. So there's a lot of possibilities. I will say that the paper held up pretty well. There's no holes, no scratches or anything. But I did have to be a little bit more careful than I did with the watercolor paper. Okay, so we're gonna do the whole process again with some warm colors so we can see how the orange turned out as well. So again, just this foam shaving cream. I'm gonna keep shaking it just to make sure that it is coming out good. All right. So again, it's not 100% even, but it did cover most of it, which helps a lot with trying to get all of your paper covered in one go as you push it into that foam. Okay, so I'm going to start with that orange color. And then I always add a little bit more yellow than the other colors because I feel like the yellow gets outshined pretty quick when you mix it with orange and yellow. So it might look like a lot, but because red and yellow make orange, a lot of times you get more orange than the other two colors. Another thing that I found the first time I did this is when you have a lot of colors overlapping, it does get just like a little thick in that one spot, and then the surrounding shaving cream won't have as much color in it, which is fine if that's what you're going for, but if you're looking for something that's got a little bit more color overall, you might want to be careful about overlapping those food coloring. All right, so this is what it looks like after I swirl. I prefer the popsicle stick just because I don't care if it gets stained. Like I would maybe care a little bit more if it was a colored pencil or something that I might want to use again. But stained popsicle stick doesn't bother me. So this time we're going to try the regular white construction paper and see if that holds up pretty well, or if that regular copy paper was our best option. All right. Again, I'm pushing pretty firm just to make sure that my whole paper is covered. Because you want to make sure you get that nice thick layer so that it's got all that color that's on your paper. I'm going to set this up to the side. And I'm going to take my other piece of cardboard just so I'm not accidentally putting purple in my warm colors. Then you get brown. Let's see. Normally I prefer the way cool colors turn out, but I think this red, yellow, and orange might be my favorite one so far. Again, I will use these papers for everything. I would make sure you let it sit for a little bit, let it dry before you start cutting it up and putting in other things, just because the food coloring might transfer, as it did to my hands here. It might transfer a little bit, and you want to be careful that you're not getting it all over other stuff in the process of trying to get that creative side flowing. Drop my paper towel. Okay. Again, this is a lot of extra shaving cream. I don't know if you can see. And if you feel like trying to reuse, that's real easy. I always take my popsicle stick and just put it right back down on the tray. Those colors are already marbleized, so you don't have to re-swirl or use anything else, but it is a really good way to reuse without wasting a whole bunch of that stuff. And then I'll just wipe this little bit off on my paper towel. I will say the nice thing about this is if you do find that you accidentally get a whole bunch on your hands, the shaving cream washes off super easy. And food coloring cleans up pretty well as well with some good soap and water scrubbing. So that is a nice part about using this instead of using like the watercolor, the liquid watercolors that we've used before that kind of stain your fingers for a little bit longer. You got to scrub a little bit more to get those off. Again, this one is just the plain white construction paper. And so I'm going to pull this one up a little bit more of a swirl. And then I'm going to try adding just a little bit of this red just to see what happens. And then I'm just going to take the shaving cream that's already in here and re-swirl, making sure I don't have too much of any color in one place. This is ooh, see, this one's got a lot more. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this one has a lot more, before I even take the cardboard, has a lot more of that purple color in it, and is a little bit more gray, like the colors have been maybe mixed a little too far, that they're all starting to become one. And this one's got a little bit more of that. You can see the purple, the blue, and the green in it as it sits. So I'm going to try and scrape them both off, and we'll see what our finished product is. Okay, so on this one, you can very clearly see where my white spaces are, but I think that red adds a nice little pop to the other colors that would have been a little gray. They're starting to lose their individual color pigment and starting to mix together to make just kind of a dark neutral color with just a little hint of pops. But that red looks super nice. Where this one, you can, like we talked about, still see the purple, green, and blue pretty clearly. So that's something to consider as well. The more you use your shaving cream and kind of swipe and push paper into it, you might find that you are getting some colors that are just mixing a little bit more than you expected. So I think this one is still my favorite. We're going to try another warm one with this little bit thicker paper and see how it holds up. All right, so these colors are already swirled. I don't want to do too much more damage. We just saw if you mix too far, you might kind of get a neutral gray color, which is not at all a bad thing. But if I'm going to make some bright, colorful paper for some fun projects, I want to make sure that I'm getting those bright, vibrant colors that I'm using. This one's got some holes in it, so we're just gonna switch our spot and push it back down. And then I think just to play with it, we're gonna put a little bit of blue in here and see if we get some green with the yellow or some purple with the red. We'll see what kind of mixes around. I just put a few drops of the blue because it is one of those darker pigments that, like red, can have a very easy time taking over whatever you're working on. You don't want it to all become blue because these are pretty warm colors. Again, mixing with something like this that's hands-on is a really fun way to get to kind of play with those colors, see how they mix, see what colors you like mixing together. Sometimes I like a little bit of green in my warm colors or some red with my purple, which makes sense. Those are some complementary colors there next to each other on that color wheel. And sometimes you don't. You just want those pure warm colors, or you just want the red and green, and you don't want to mix those other colors into it. That's all up to you. It's your project. Make sure we got that middle really good. Let's see, I see some blue, I see some green. Not really purple, but we'll see how it looks when we swipe it. So you can see the more colors you add in the beginning will definitely take over at some point. There's a lot of yellow just going on. I like the way it's swirled in. You can see little stripes of red, some of the blue. You got some green over here, but it's not taking over the picture. That yellow plays really nicely with all those colors that you get almost a rainbow. Not all of it. We didn't quite get our purple, but maybe that's something somebody else can try and let me know how it turns out. Save a couple drops of that red and blue food coloring mixed together for that purple. Add it in at the end and you might get something even prettier. Oh boy. Like I said, washes off, wipes off pretty simply. But I would encourage you, put on a shirt you don't care about, put on some paper towel or put some, you can see I've got this board down that I paint on all the time. Put down some newspaper, extra paper, anything you don't care about, just because it will get messy. And if you don't clean it up carefully, you're going to get a big old table mess. This one's got a little bit of a sunset feel, but it plays with some, almost a flower shape in there. I like that one a lot. All right, guys. So I've kind of run out of my cut paper, but that is marbled paper. Feel free to try it with any of those paper projects you do already. You can make it into a card. You can make it into a background for pictures or some of those multimedia collages, and kind of play up something that may have just been a dull picture or a coloring page or something else and make it your own, make it a little bit more creative and more artistic. But that's all I have for today. So have a great week. Let me know how yours turn out. Bye, guys.